I'm Joe Bainline.
And I'm Tanya Kane-Perry.
With NewsWrap, a summary of some of the news in or affecting LGBTQ communities around the world for the week ending March 13th, 2021. Official homophobia continues to escalate in Ghana this week as 8 members of parliament push a bill to make the promotion of queer rights a criminal offense. The move comes on the heels of the closure of the Accra offices of LGBTQ Rights Ghana in late February. National security forces unexpectedly raided the fledgling group's headquarters after it had been open less than a month. Publicity around that action aroused condemnation by anti-queer religious and political leaders. The raid and closure also prompted global outrage led by Brits of Ghanaian descent, including actors Idris Elba and Naomi Campbell, and dozens of other celebrities, politicians, and human rights advocates. That only made Ghanaian government officials step up their anti-queer rhetoric. The lead sponsor of this week's No Promo Homo proposal is MP Samuel Nartey George of the opposition National Democratic Congress. He announced on Facebook that he and 7 other MPs would be presenting a private member's bill to, in his words, ban the advocacy and act of homosexuality in all its current and future forms. We owe it to ourselves and the people of Ghana to uphold that which gives us our identity as a people. May we unite in this fight against the scourge and perversion that homosexuality presents, so help us God. Same-gender sex is already punishable with up to 3 years in prison. MPs from a number of the West African nations' political parties might support the No Promo Homo measure, according to Reuters. However, Ghana's current legislative session concludes at the end of March, so the clock may simply run out.
Nigeria is another homophobic West African hotspot. The latest police raid on a suspected gay party has been reported by local media in the state of Anambra. The number of detainees has not yet to be confirmed. A source familiar with the operation told Nigeria's Punch newspapers that an anonymous tip led authorities to the hotel room. That account describes the partygoers fleeing in all directions when the policemen arrived. Those arrested were taken to the police station's anti-cult office for investigation. The anti-cult division was set up to combat violent campus confraternities. Nigeria outlaws making a public show of a same-sex relationship and involvement in any LGBTQ organizations. Some Nigerian states govern under strict Islamic law. Fortunately for the detainees, Anambra is not one of them. So while they may face jail time, there's no public caning if they're convicted. Anglican Archbishop of Nigeria, Henry Nboku, has chimed in, calling homosexuality a virus that should be urgently and radically expunged, according to Pink News. Meanwhile, Time reports that virulent homophobes have been invading a queer Nigerian invite-only drop-in audio chat app called Clubhouse, where users can access LGBTQ supportive talks, discussions, and workshops. People interviewed for the late February Time story said they'd reported the anti-queer moderators through the app with no response. Time also said that their requests for comment on Clubhouse's community guidelines went unanswered.
Panama's National Assembly has approved reforms to the adoption system to specifically deny prospective LGBTQ parents. Article 22 of the bill states that only a man and a woman united in marriage or a common law marriage for a minimum of 2 years can adopt a child. Article 26 specifies again that the adopting couples must be of different sex. A number of human rights organizations have signed on to an open letter by the Panamanian LGBTQ rights group Fundación Iguales, calling on President Laurentino Cortizo Cohen to veto the 2 offending articles. The queer advocacy group's president Ivan Shaniz Barahona told the Washington Blade that there are no gender-specific references in current adoption laws and that the reforms violate international law. If Cortizo signs the bill with the 2 offending articles intact, Shaniz said it would be a setback for human rights in the country. The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights has joined the chorus of global opposition to the blatantly discriminatory provisions. The Commission's judicial branch is the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, And it ruled in 2018 that same-gender civil marriage must be legalized by all members of the Organization of American States. Panama is one of them. Its government announced that it would comply with the decision, but has yet to take concrete steps to do so.
In Poland, they want to forbid even single LGBTQ people from adopting children. Current law limits adoption to married heterosexual couples or single people. But the notoriously anti-queer government announced a proposal this week that would also require vetting single applicants, just to be sure they are not living with a same-gender partner. Polish President Andrzej Duda and other members of his ruling far-right Law and Justice Party have rebuffed intensifying criticism from other European Union member states. They insist that it's a strictly domestic issue because LGBTQ rights threaten their country's Roman Catholic culture. More than 100 city and regional governments across Poland have enacted measures rejecting LGBT ideology and declaring their areas LGBT Free Zones. One such LGBT Free Zone rejected the proposed visit of France's out-minister for European Affairs, Clément Beaune, this week. The snub was blamed on COVID-19, according to Pink News. But as of this week, the entire European Union is declared an LGBTIQ Freedom Zone. The European Parliament voted overwhelmingly to insist that LGBTIQ rights are human rights. The resolution was offered by the EU's LGBTI intergroup. It denounces growing hate speech by Polish public authorities and elected officials, including by the current president.
That same European Parliament resolution noted that the basic human rights of LGBTQ people in neighboring Hungary are also being severely hindered by far-right President Viktor Orban. He has a close relationship with Poland's Duda. But Orban got a minor pushback this week. His administration had tried to deny changes of legal gender by all trans people who have already transitioned. The Constitutional Court ruled that the denial only applies to those who began transitioning after May 2020, when the blanket statute passed. Hatters, one of Hungary's leading LGBTQ rights groups, spokesperson Thomas Dombos noted that lawsuits have already been filed to challenge the entire ban. He called the court's narrow 8-6 vote to reject the law's retroactivity alone encouraging.
Finally, and in the round version of Sydney, Australia's world-famous gay and lesbian Mardi Gras, conquered COVID-19 on March 6th. Some 36,000 people packed the Sydney Cricket Ground to cheer about 120 entries and 5,000 parade participants as they circled the stadium track. Singer Rita Ora was the headline entertainer. The 43rd annual festivities were also nationally televised again. Because the entire state of New South Wales had gone 48 days without a single reported coronavirus infection, face masks and social distancing were not required. Agence France-Presse called the circular procession a tightly managed spectacle filled with pyrotechnics, dazzling performances, and speckled with corporate sponsors. It replaced the usual parade on Oxford Street along Sydney's main LGBTQ business hub. Health officials issued an exemption for a much smaller protest march along the usual parade route by those who wanted to remember Mardi Gras' origins. It began with a violent police attack on peaceful pride-goers in 1978. Several groups brought political messages to the Cricket Ground parade as well. Banners and chants called for transgender rights, sex worker rights, and an end to the deaths of Indigenous Australians in police custody.
A number of homophobic assaults marred the celebration. Gay national TV crime reporter Mark Reddy became a victim himself. What he called a car full of idiots threw eggs at him and his friends in the early morning hours after the parade. Similar incidents were also reported in and around the Cricket Ground or in Sydney's queer business area. Bottles as well as eggs were hurled at perceived queer people. Police are investigating. Soon after reporting the incident, Reddy tweeted, "Gay hate crimes still exist, but that if you think some eggs are going to rattle us, think again."
That's NewsWrap, global queer news with attitude, for the week ending March 13th, 2021. Follow the news in your area and around the world. An informed community is a strong community.
NewsWrap is recording remotely during the COVID-19 emergency, but is still being written by Greg Gordon, edited by Lucia Chappelle, produced by Brian DeShazer, and brought to you by you.
Help keep us in ears around the world at thiswayout.org, where you can also read the text of this newscast and much more.
And you can listen to NewsWrap each week by subscribing to our This Way Out radio channel on YouTube. For This Way Out, I'm Joe Bainline. Stay healthy.
And I'm Tanya Kane Perry. Stay safe.